Welcome, Traveler's Blueprint community. I am Elliot Shibley, and here with me, as always, is the self-starter, Robert Domeno.
Self-starter. Thank you. I appreciate that one.
You're welcome.
Before we get into the episode, very quickly, today's guest was an incredible one, Charlie Hammerton. He's best known for his journey with Bandit, his travel partner, best friend, and pet ferret. So Charlie now speaks about his adventures and life in hopes that he inspires others to overcome loss and mental health struggles. He had a beautiful story, lots of travel in there, and we really just kind of dove into his own personal experiences. It was a really good one, and we think you're going to like this one a lot.
Yeah, a lot of hope in there.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into that full episode, I'll give you a little insight into what we have going on. So as we've talked about over the last several months, we have created a Traveler's Blueprint tutorial that you can visit us on our website. It's through Thinkific. It's 52 lessons. It helps you become your own travel agent. And think of it like being a travel architect, hence the Traveler's Blueprint. And it goes through 5 different things between safety, social norms. It goes through itinerary building, navigating, and finding flights and going through blogs and research to find what to do and where to eat. So we've got our new travel tip of the week, which this week, if you are on Google Flights, there is a way to turn on a track flight option, which will then send you email notifications when prices change or if anything changes, whether that's going up or down.
Yeah, I use this all the time. I actually have one set for Bermuda right now. So anytime the flight, so it's 3 round trip tickets, my wife and my daughter, for a certain period of time, nonstop. And I have it tracked. So in my email, whenever it goes up or down, I get an email notification. If it goes down enough, I can just then jump on the flight very easily. So it sort of does the work, the research for you, and allows you to sort of forget about it and hope that it goes down, of course.
Yep. And if you find this podcast entertaining, please consider giving us a review on iTunes or whichever podcast platform you listen on. It does really help us and become established and gain credibility within the podcasting and travel realm. And we do offer other travel consulting services. For example, because of our experience with purchasing flights, we will help you find a flight at a reduced discount. And for that, we will just take 20% of the savings that you've earned. And we also have our itinerary layout that Bob will help you walk through one-on-one consulting. And then we have our own Philly tour guide, which is Kessler Tybert, and he is based in Philly. He's been on the show several times, and he is a great guy. Please check out our website to see exclusive tours through us with him. And that's it. Let's get into the show with Charlie.
Welcome to the Traveler's Blueprint. Start designing your next adventure.
You have that.
We
have that time.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward
depending
to
on
this.
where we go, sometimes it ends up being 50 minutes. That's usually only if our guest has a prior engagement.
Right.
Oftentimes it's an hour. Yeah.
Right. Nothing's happening any night anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
COVID days. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Okay.
I did not know that they do that. Interesting.
Yeah, we're on the Gregorian. I know what you're talking about.
Before we hit the road,
Are they on the Balinese?
well, years leading up to
No,
it, I'd had
that's
a
Bali. That means
difficult
Thai.
teenage life with
Ethiopian,
my
Chinese,
family
Hebrew,
and
Islamic,
my
Persian,
living
or
situation.
Solar,
I managed to
that's it.
escape it all, and I joined the Royal Air Force, and I had a really good short career. I really enjoyed myself there, and that's where I
This will
first
definitely
rescued
be
Bandit. And it was during
we're
that
just gonna
time that
keep
my
this
mother
as the
passed away.
conversation.
I just really struggled with what my purpose was in the military, and I decided to leave,
Julian,
get a normal job, and I just
It always
found that
frustrates
wasn't
me
my
that
thing either.
I
That
think it
wasn't what I was
was
supposed to be doing at the
it
time.
was
So
uh,
instead of trying to fit in,
Emperor
I decided
Julius
to
Caesar
sell everything I
and
had and just
Augustus
hit the road. So
that were
there is so much
so
to it that we could
self-centered that they
talk about,
decided to
and I'm sure
create
we're
their
going to get
own
into
months.
it.
I
But
think
that's
Augustus did it
loosely the
first,
gist of it.
and then Julius Caesar saw that he had his own month, and then created his own month as well. Because
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
right,
It's so
we
similar
have
then. My mum was, I
we
think she was
have
about 54, 53.
September, October, November, December, which is supposed to be 8, 9, 10, 8,
Yeah.
9, and
So
10.
in the States, it's ALS.
And
What
now we don't. Now October is,
Okay.
which is supposed to be the 8th month, is now the 10th month.
You didn't hear about the new month in the United
Wow.
States, Trumpuary?
It's more common than people think. You know, it's about one in 350
Okay,
people.
let's move on.
I can't even talk about that right now.
Yeah, no, we can't. No,
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
very sad time.
Wow. No way. It's crazy.
Yeah. Sad time for America. Yeah. Hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
I'm hoping this
Yeah.
is the night is darkest just before the dawn type
That's,
thing.
that's profound for both
There's
of you,
going to be
isn't
more.
it? It's a nice
supposedly on
nice place to
Saturday.
go,
So let's get
to
into
travel
it,
and do the exciting thing that
Next
people
Saturday?
like us live for. But
Yeah,
then
next
there's
Saturday.
that double meaning in there with your
Capitol again.
mum's ashes. That's
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. They found the remains of the plane today. Yeah.
Wait, like flight?
So,
The one from 3 years ago?
no, a Boeing plane crashed on Friday.
Oh.
So I invested in freaking Boeing stock on Friday, and then a plane crashed on Saturday, and they found it today.
never thought I would do that. I never travel is everything. That never really fit into who I was at all. I thought it was a bit like, oh, bloody hippies. I'm running away from their responsibilities, having fun. Like, who do they think they are?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same. And statistically, your chances are still so slim.
Yeah,
But
there were so many people that said I lost.
there needs to be an
friends
investigation
because
on why
very,
these airlines
very
in
close
the
friends
South
that I
Asian
love dearly
area are crashing.
because of
A majority of them are
that
in that
choice. They
area.
thought I'd gone mad, and it was like a larger thing. There was like a bigger calling to go and do something and see things and experience things. So yeah, it's funny how it can go from something that you think of as being outside the norm to something that's quite formative and has created who I am and the things that I do now. Interesting.
Yeah. It's very isolated. Yeah, I mean, the United States is an incredibly safe place to fly. It's one of the safest places in the world. There's virtually no airline
I've just
related
it's
deaths at all
interesting
in
that
the
you
United
mentioned this.
States.
I'm writing about this.
I mean,
at the moment
when I say with
for
the
a
United
second
States,
book about all the travel.
American airline
And
companies.
I don't
Yeah.
really know how it happened.
And I'm sure with Europe too. I don't remember
I was
any
about
time in recent history that
3-4 months into a
European
new
or
job, and I
Australian,
was really
New
enjoying
Zealand,
it and doing
and
well.
so it's the Western
Wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, and I
I
felt
think
that,
it's a
and I
lot
knew
of
that, but
times associated with
I was okay
communication.
there, and I could have just carried on,
Mhm.
just ignored.
Well, I
you
know,
know,
and then
feelings
Boeing is in the middle
go
of
and
an
do something
incredibly large
different.
lawsuit
But
because they were
I broke up
sending
with
the
my girlfriend that I had at the
737 MAX
time,
airplanes
and I had
to
this ferret
those
that we'd
regions
done a
of the
lot of
world, and they
charity
were
events with, and we'd walked across the country
not
already and
providing
climbed
them with the
mountains
full
together
safety
and stuff
features.
like that.
The full
And
package, the full
I
safety
just got
package
this,
was considered
like this
an
inner
add-on
voice,
that you had to pay
this
for.
small
So
feeling
poorer countries were
that
not
just
paying
said,
for the full safety package, and as a
Arctic
result,
Circle,
we had the Malaysian
camper
Airlines
van,
crash last year. I
ferret,
think
off
2
you
or
go.
3
And it
Boeing
sounds
737
so
Maxes
bizarre to
crashed.
think that there was a voice
And
that
so
said drive to the
now
Arctic
they
Circle,
include
but
that
I
as
can't
the
put it in
standard
any other way.
package,
That just
which
this
is
feeling
insane.
of
It's like selling a car to
the
somebody
Arctic
without
Circle.
seatbelts or an
That's
airbag
where I need
and
to
forcing them to
go
pay
to.
for it. And that's essentially what
I don't really
Boeing
understand why I
But this plane
thought
was
that
not a
or
737
felt that I
MAX.
should go and do
No,
that. But that's
It was an
exactly how it
older
happened.
737. It was actually
There's no way to
26-year-old
explain
plane.
it. That's just
Yeah, well,
how it
that's
happened. That's the
those
first time in my
countries
life that
tend
I
to
ever
get
felt
the planes that
that I need to go
the United
and
States and
travel,
Western
not
countries
just
don't
go
use
somewhere
any
as a
longer.
tourist or I'd like to
But
see
it
this
also,
place, but
that
I'm
plane
going to
obviously
go
had
and
very few safety
adventure
issues
like
in the last 26
big
years.
time, a big
I
time
don't know.
adventure.
There's a
not
lot
just
going on with
climb
it.
a
I'd be
mountain or
curious to
two,
see how it
yeah.
unfolds. But from what I
Right.
could tell, it took off in
Yeah,
the middle of a
I've
monsoon.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, I
Oh,
went
man.
out
And
to
the flight had
Falklands when
already
I was
been
in the
delayed due to
military,
heavy
and
rain.
I was a
So,
bushcraft
who
instructor,
knows?
so I'm
So
used to
maybe
spending
get called nearly
long periods of time out
Or air traffic
um,
control.
doing various
right.
outdoorsy
Well,
kind of stuff. Lots of climbing, lots of
Well, that's all.
hikes and
That's all the
mountain
sad,
biking,
horrible stuff
canoeing,
that's
and
happening in the world. We can
things
make
like
it.
that. Flying as well. So
Yeah.
like adventure was something that I
Caroline,
Thank you
really
so
so
much
much
for
for
coming on.
joining
never
us.
for more than like a week, or never for more than a holiday. This was
Yeah,
the
we'll
first
definitely
time I
put
was
this
like
as
going
as
away
B-roll on the YouTube channel.
with no destination in mind apart from the Arctic Circle and no time limit. Just hit the road and go.
Caroline Mealy.
We drove up.
I'm sure
through-
you get that a lot from Americans. Maybe
We drove up through
Caroline is
Sweden.
very-
I can't remember how many miles it was through Sweden, like hundreds and hundreds of miles. And then went over to Norway, and then up through Norway.
Oh, that.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really thinking about who owned
I
it
like
when it was like -11,
Nice,
and I was stuck in snow and ice. I was just thinking, like, wow, this is pretty mad. Like, 2 months ago I was in an office somewhere, and now I'm stuck in snow and ice. It's crazy.
Interesting. I will say my boss is notoriously bad at pronunciation.
Did
We're working with someone
I
whose
don't know why the
name
Arctic
is
Circle,
Corinna,
but
Corri.
I got this list of things that I really wanted to
and we've been
achieve,
working with
and
her
one of
for
them was
over
to
a
go
year
to
now,
the Falklands.
and
I'd
he
love
still
to have gone out
often
there,
calls
so I
her
managed to get out
Corinna.
there. And then I thought South
Even though
Georgia
he
would be
knows
great
it's
to go
Corinna.
to, which is quite away from the Falklands, and people
Yeah,
don't really
exactly.
go there. No one
And
lives
we
there,
had
apart from a few scientists.
Pakistani woman working for us about a year ago as well, and her name was ASMA, Asma, and he would for the
No,
first
not
like
States,
6
no,
months
and
call her
not Russia.
either
The Falklands,
Asma
just
or
off Argentina,
Ozma,
just above Antarctica.
and it was just like
There's another
it's
South
us.
Georgia, yeah.
Us.
Not South Georgia, like USA.
Ooh.
No, South Georgia near Antarctica. Yeah. It's where Shackleton and his boys went down on his famous, not tragic expedition because they all survived, but his famous failed expedition.
Yeah, okay.
So I really wanted to see that, and I managed to see that. I always wanted to fly solo, and I'd flown solo and just do all these little weird things and walk across Hadrian's Wall with a ferret. I don't know why that was a thing I wanted to do, but I did it. The Northern Lights was one of those other things. I thought I'd love to see that. So we left in when was it? I think it was end of March, beginning of April sort of time, and mid-April is when you can, the chances of seeing the lights disappear. So it was like a race, get up to the Arctic Circle, the region where I'll start being able to see the Northern Lights. The day that I got stuck in snow and ice, it was -11, and I just
Interesting.
turned off the road to find somewhere to stay overnight, and this path just got narrower and narrower and narrower, and I ended up getting stuck for hours, and I was digging out for hours.
Yeah.
I looked up. Sorry,
Do you
when
know
I finally
Christopher
got free,
Walken, the
I found
actor?
somewhere better to park that I wouldn't get stuck in snow and ice. And I just breathed a sigh of relief,
He
like,
has a
that
very
was why I wasn't.
specific
I'm out
way
of that
of
now, and that's great. And I looked
enunciating
up in
words.
the sky,
He has
surrounded by all
cadence.
these massive pines and in this clearing,
And
and the sky was
Dave
just,
Grohl,
like,
the lead
almost
singer
all
for
the
Foo
most
Fighters,
ghostly colors you can imagine. And
was
it was
they were
incredible.
on SNL,
It, like,
and
brought me to
Christopher
my
Walken
knees.
was the host.
So wow,
And
there's that thing that
Christopher
I
Walken
wanted
asked
to
Dave
see,
Grohl
and
where
this
the
is
emphasis
crazy.
is
And I felt
on
this
Foo
that
Fighters.
was
And
and you
Dave
like
Grohl's
page had
"It's all
turned. I
fighters,"
thought, okay, I
and
got to the
Christopher
Arctic
Walken
Circle.
tore
What's
some of the
next?
emphasis on
And
the first words.
what's
Or
next
the
in my
first part
life,
of
and
the
what's
word.
next for me as
So
an
he introduces
individual,
them, and
and
he's like,
all these mad
"And now,
questions started coming my way.
please
And
welcome
I really
the Foo
did find
Fighters."
what I was looking for. I'm not sure what
And
I was looking for. And I'm not sure what I found,
hilarious.
but
And it was Dave Grohl
inspired
doing
and
the
set like a
impersonation of
spark in
Christopher
me that
Walken.
made me think, like, what am I about? What's
It
my
was a fun
job?
time. All right.
What I
Well,
want to
we've
achieve
chatted
is
for
bigger than
25 minutes now, and
what I've
haven't even.
achieved so
Well, we
far that I
recorded the
can go and
last
get
10 minutes.
because
So.
Okay,
I've
let's
done quite
do
well
this.
for,
Yeah.
at the time,
I am
24
going
year
to
old.
snap now since we're not recording, since we're recording.
That started my next chapter.
Caroline, welcome to the Traveler's Blueprint podcast. All right,
Let's
so
do it.
we are very excited to talk to you today. You have spent a good portion of your career with Cirque du Soleil, which is very exciting, and
Yeah.
you have a very interesting
Well,
background
it's
from
the
growing,
timeline, I
or
think,
being born in New
gets a
Zealand,
little bit,
growing up in Australia.
was a
Your
bit
mother is
skewed
Kiwi, your father
from what
is
you would have
French,
seen by the
and for
media.
me,
I think
Caroline,
you tell them
with
one
an E,
thing
though,
and they
so
just get all the
us
juicy bits and
Americans
put it
can
into
pronounce
one.
you
It wasn't 1 year. So my friend passed away
That's how you pronunciate.
quite suddenly,
And
well, very
your
suddenly.
mother is Spanish, so it's all very
that
interesting. And
sort of made
now
me
you are
realize,
working to
we're not
enhance
mortal.
experiences,
Like the
not
people
just
that
in
you know
travel, but
will
in other
pass away,
aspects of
and it can
life.
happen at any
And
time,
you
at
do
any
one-on-one
age.
consulting
And that was a bit
to
shocking.
help people do
But
better
yeah,
at what they
within
do and
months
enjoy
of my
it
mum
more.
dying,
Today
adopted mum
we are really going to
as
look
well.
at your history of
That was like
travel and how it
I
influenced you to
lived
become
for
this experienced
a while
strategist,
my mum
and then how your experienced
had a
strategist helps
strange
people
teenage
become better
years where
travelers.
my
and
mum
get
was very
more
sick
out of their
already,
travels.
not with ALS,
So
but with a
why don't we
stroke. She
start
had a
with
stroke and it
your
paralyzed
journey
her.
to becoming an
And
experienced
it went from like a
strategist?
perfect situation with nuclear family to this real crazy fractured existence with a stepdad and all, like, yeah, it just went out the window. Crazy time. Yeah. And so when my adopted mum then died, it just brought everything to a head, and I just thought, I've got to change something or do something or experience something. What do I want? Because of it could all change tomorrow. And I think a lot of us understand what that feels, even like if they've not lost anyone, but with lockdowns and restrictions and people passing away and terror and fear, people know that things change just like that. Yeah. Mm. It's fantastic. That's wonderful. You know, when you hear little stories like that, you think if that person did succeed, then there'd be one less soul in the world, one less opportunity, one less, all that magic of having a child and a family, things like that. So it's beautiful to hear even small victories like that. It's amazing. Yeah, and that's the feeling that I got when I was working in a job that wasn't me, when I was single after having a girlfriend and a flat, and all the things I'd wanted, and the military life and stuff. I felt like I just wanted to live, and the only way that I can say what that was like was when I was suicidal when I was in the forces. That's because I didn't want to live. The feeling of uh, the idea of going away and experiencing things and seeing the things that I wanted to see, I just felt in me that I want to live. And it was so extreme, like the two opposites. I don't want to live and I want to live. But the feeling between them, or that intensity of I want to live, I don't want to live, was the same. So however extreme it was that I didn't want to live, and the times that I did attempt to not live, was as extreme, that feeling of I want to live, like I want to go and do these things, and I want to travel and see things. So yeah, I felt before that, long before the traveling, that I didn't want to live, but it wasn't a suicidal thought that made me
That sounds
think
awesome.
I've got to go
So
travel.
can you give us
It was the thought
bit of
of
an example
I got to
of,
live, I've
say
got to see
someone
things, I
wanted
want to do
to,
things,
or I
and
guess
here's
an
my chance.
example that you've actually worked with
Yeah.
someone on
It's like a
a
similar feeling,
trip,
very strange.
and how if they were going somewhere and they
I
wanted
guess
to do
if
specific things, or
yeah,
they didn't
yeah,
want
exactly.
to live
Like
what they wanted
if
to live, how
love
would you
is the
help them?
most passionate feeling of liking someone, and hate is the most passionate feeling of not, I guess like wanting to live and wanting to die would be a similar comparison, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, being on my own was amazing. Um, not answering to anything other than what you want to go and do and what you want to go and see, and should I go left, should I go right, and just doing that for such a long time on the road, just well with your ferrets. I wasn't alone. um, yeah.
Okay.
So what did you find, or what are you finding is
Yeah,
that guests
I was
prioritize
driving one day in
in their
Lincolnshire,
for their
place
experiences?
that I was based, RF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, and a stoat ran across the road, and stoats are like um, tiny ferrets, and it was just like so fast, and I thought, man, that thing's mad. Look at it. It was like a sausage with little legs that were going so quick. I thought, that's wild. I want one of those. And I was in single living accommodation, and I wanted to have an animal, but the rooms are too small for dogs, and we weren't allowed to keep cats. So I thought, hey, maybe I could get a ferret and like break the rules. Um, so I found a shelter, a ferret shelter that was literally next to the airbase. The back garden of the ferret shelter was the wire fence for the airbase. It was meant to be. I found this little guy, this ferret that was had been there for about a year. He didn't like other ferrets because the ferrets are quite social. They like to be with other ferrets. He didn't really get on with other ferrets, so he was always on his own, and he wanted to have lots of company with humans, so we like playing and things like that. I thought, yeah, this guy's great. So that was how it started with Bandit. And I thought, I don't want to just keep a ferret in my room, and that's lame. I want to go out and do things with him like I would a dog or something. So I did. Put a lead on him, and he used to like going out. He'd run up and down the stairs, and he'd run in front of me, and a really strange relationship. Ferrets are like cats, are very independent,
Absolutely.
but they're kind of more docile, like a dog in some ways, like kind of cross between the two attitudes. So he would independently run off, but kind of wait like a dog. So it was really, really unusual behavior for a ferret. So yeah, he was just perfect company. It was
I
great.
will
He
say
loved walking everywhere. And,
my wife's
yeah, it was never like, come on, I'm going
uncle
to drag you out, and
absolutely
you will
love
enjoy
Disney
your
World,
walk.
and
It was,
and I
he
think
inspired
you
me to
have
go
two
out
friends that love
and
Disney World as well. And
enjoy the great
for
outdoors.
what it's
So I
worth,
sort of
I
prompted
have been to
him
Disney
to
World
let's
a
go
few
climb a
times, but
mountain.
I've never taken the full breadth of the experience. I've always just stayed off site or at someone else's house, and then just gone into the parks and done my own thing. But from the way they tell it,
like,
if you do the full
he
package,
wasn't a
you
pet,
get like the
and
meal
I wasn't
plans, you
like
stay
an
on
owner
site.
that
They
says, oh,
tailor
this is my
everything
child.
to
We were like
you and
buddies,
make
like
that
best mates.
experience so personal.
And I talked to him like, oh, all right,
it
mate.
just makes people want to
Or,
come back. I mean,
you
it
hungry?
turns
Or should we pull
non-believers
over here?
into absolute
It
lovers of
wasn't,
Disney
you
World.
know, when people are
And it
like
sounds
cooey over
like
their
that's
animals,
kind
like,
of
oh,
what
look
you're
at
doing. You're not
them.
necessarily
It's not like
making a
that.
Disney World
You
in
know, it's
every
like, Bandit,
location, but
you've
you are
crapped in the
making
corner
sure
again.
people
You're
feel
such an idiot.
important
And like,
making sure they
I don't know, it
feel
was a strange
like they
kind of
are
relationship. So
there
we
and
were
not
like
just a
inseparable.
number.
We did everything together. We'd take him to the pub or take him shopping. the manager at the local co-op was cool with me putting him in the basket while we went shopping, and he'd just chill with me. Like, when he'd had enough, he'd climb up my leg and just sit on my shoulder and get inside my jacket and fall asleep. So there was no question, I'm going to the Arctic, Bandit's coming with me. So yeah, no question whatsoever. I'd like to think he wasn't. I'd like to think that there's lots of people that do things like that. I know that there's people that have got them in the Arctic. I don't know if there's many people that have taken them as far as I have. I certainly don't think there's many people that have walked the distances that I have. But he's got to be the most talked about ferret for sure. Yeah, for sure. But heaven, but he was a bit of a brat, so he might be in hell. Who knows? A week after we returned, he passed away. So it was like the perfect little story. Yeah, we went to a castle that day, and in the evening he was a bit unwell. In the morning he was even more so, and he passed away in the morning. So I buried him in a box of like all like nice quotes and stuff all over it that I thought pertained to me and Bandit, like the road less taken, by Robert Frost. And
I will say the one show I've seen one
and I buried him in the woods that I used to go to when I was pretty much on the streets. I buried him in there, so it's kind of like this strange circle. I find that, and maybe you've experienced it as well in your lives, that things start move in circles, and the circles get bigger and it gets more again. Yeah, it's kind of strange how the whole thing went in a big,
like completely submerged, and I just thought it was absolutely fascinating.
So we started in Nottingham. Selling everything took actually quite a long time, and getting everything sorted so that I could go away took a couple of months. So we left in, like I said, end of April, March, from Nottingham, which is the centre of the UK. Went up to Scotland to do a shakedown. So if anything was going to break in the van, it was going to be then. I just met a girl, and we decided that we'd travel that bit together. So I dropped her back off in Nottingham. So up to Scotland, back down to Nottingham. Went across the Channel into France. Went across to Holland. Sorry. Then we went to Germany. I spent a couple of weeks there. Denmark. Didn't spend too long there. Just flew through. And then Sweden. It took about a week to get through Sweden. And then Norway. By that time, it was coming up to the end of April. So the chance of seeing the Northern Lights for literally every second of every night that I was awake, and I was like this. And then when it happened, it was mad. Then we went down to spent a bit more time in Sweden in like this mad heat wave, and it was beautiful. Sweden is fantastic. I was enjoying the traveling so much, and like I said, this new page had turned. I was recently single, met this new gal, and I said, you've got to come out. You've got to come and do this with me. She came over to the UK to study and to learn English. She ended up moving into a van with a guy and his ferret, traveling around Europe. Can you imagine the conversation with her mum? Mum, I'm going to run away in this van with this guy and a ferret. So I had to reassure her mum that I wasn't mad and that I was going to look after her daughter. So she met us in Germany. And I spent about a couple of weeks again on my own in Germany.
Considered that, and it is really an important process, or an important aspect of the show is feeling that connection with the performers.
Berlin is amazing,
and not that you're there to watch them perform a feat, but you're there to interact with them and see.
Travel to a little bit of Poland, a little bit of Czech Republic.
Very interesting. So.
Across to Spain, France.
Do you have general recommendations on
Spain?
For the traveler
spent a few
themselves
weeks there. Got ferry over to Italy.
Better receive
spent a while in Italy.
The experiences provided to them by
went down the coast.
You participate.
Got a ferry to Sicily, where my other half is from, and then spent a couple of months in Sicily. I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think in total it was about 5 ferries that we got on. About 10,000 miles. Countless things and stuff that we did. I think we did about 14 countries together, him and I, in the end, the amount of countries that we visited. And an airplane back to the UK, no, to Holland, back to Holland, and then ferry back to the UK. That was mad, traveling with a ferret on an airplane, you know, crazy. It took a lot of effort to find an airline that would let us board with a ferret, because ferrets in the UK, ferrets, dogs, and cats are the only animals that can have a passport. So they're the only animals that can travel quite freely, as long as they're vaccinated and have their passports up to date. Anything else is a little bit more tricky. So rabbits, fish, frogs, whatever. But most people don't think of ferrets as they're an exotic, so they don't consider them like good travel on airplanes. So the airlines wouldn't let me travel. There's only one airline that would do it, and they had like certain like regulations about the animal and where I could board from, and it was a lot of hard work. And of course, it was all in Italian because we were calling it from Italy, and it was an Italian airline actually. And Italians don't really do customer service. So we just ended up saying that it was like a cat. So they're like, I don't know what is a ferret? So they're like, it's a bit like a cat. They're like, well, so is it a cat? And I think in the end, his ticket actually said cat, but we made sure it says cat. It's not a cat. It's a ferret. Like, so whatever, let us get on. Yeah, and that's just how it works. Weird. Oh man. I don't really know. I think the traveling experience on its own, I feel, just set me up to be this guy who. So I ended up. I say ended up, like I didn't plan for it, because it didn't. It all just happened. Working in schools, and that's something I'd always been quite passionate with. I loved working with children and educating people, and it all just came together. And I kind of got the job because I travelled with a ferret, which was weird. They thought, "Oh, you're great. You could be so inspirational."
It makes a world of difference. Yeah,
so
and Elliot and I are huge
persona of this
that. We've
ex-military survival
mine too, but you always
I
do
didn't
this.
say any of that.
Well, I think that's I'm a very
detailed
travel planner, and
Antarctic with a
understanding
ferret,
the history of the culture and the country is a big part of planning.
Like, these individual things sort of painted me as this
to
character
learning more about
with
that
children,
history once I'm actually on the ground in the area.
I took a ferret into
it goes
City.
beyond the culture.
What did you do last weekend?
Appreciate the architecture more deeply.
So that
you can appreciate the food more deeply.
Way
you understand how these meals came to be through the history of that culture, why they selected certain ingredients, and when you finally sit down and appreciate that meal, understanding the history just makes the entire overall experience way more meaningful. And so, yeah, I'm you're speaking my language right now. This is
so much. Well, I think a lot of the reasons we pick countries to go to is
so it all came to a point where it's sort
like
of led me onto
when people pick a destination, it's not because they
discover anything straight away that went,
it's because they have specific things they want to see.
As I started thinking about it, and it made me read a lot more and be more tolerant and
influence them to want to go there.
And I started meditating and things like that. Or everything just came together.
Business-related items, business-related trips, that you're going with a clean slate. Like, it's not your choice to go there, but you're going there anyway. And that is when you definitely should look at learning a few phrases, or learning at least some of the alphabet. If it's Russia, it's a very
mainly work with
alphabet, or China is completely different. And then learning about the history. And you don't have to dig
the virus. I had
I
still do have a company called Adventure Bandits, and that was that is a company where I teach bushcraft to children, disabled children, young adults, and children with challenging behaviour in schools to re-engage them with learning. So it's an incentive to sort of go, hey, not every kid can tolerate being stuck in a classroom all the time. Come outside, we'll light some fires, learn how to make some traps and all sorts of stuff outside. And then let's see how you're doing with your maths. Now let's see if we can boost that up a little bit. Ooh. Okay, you done your homework? Great. We can go and do this next time. You've done your homework. Or there's one lad that I work with who has dyslexia. So we go out and do a lesson, and then we write about it, and we'll just pick the key words. So fire, and then we'll learn how to spell fire. And the children that I work with, mental health, that's mainly through a children's home that I work for called Sea Sanctuary. And it's a big boat, and we provide a therapeutic community. So one of them calls me Uncle Charlie.
That is like an interesting
that talks as if I'm like a big brother.
Something that should be studied by like sociologists.
We all have like our different
roles. That's some interesting insight into the provide I guess children. Side effects of this pandemic is
and
body language and reading people, especially if you don't speak the language. Because the eyes can say a lot, but the mouth also says it's like 70% of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So is part of the experience building for the organization that is molding this experience, decreasing the friction between the traveler and the experience, and almost making it as seamless and as easy of a transition as possible? That seems to be the challenge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And what you mentioned there about the school system not changing in 100 years, the Romans came along and introduced education in a form then that the Victorians built on, so that we could go into the fields and manage machinery and expand our skills with the Industrial Revolution, and it still hasn't changed from there. It's still very much the same. But it's huge. The most profound thing that I've seen is the link between children with behavior problems, autism, ADHD, and the infant mortality.
How do you
rate.
quantify?
So children are living longer now, and they're being born prematurely and surviving more often. There is a very close connection with these learning difficulties and premature children surviving. So our education system is now having to tailor to more children that have difficulties learning, with the same tools that the Victorians were using to get us to use farm equipment and stuff. Yeah, so that's a really interesting thing that you can research for yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. When I get emails or phone calls asking for my input on a survey, if it's more than 2 minutes, I likely won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, but I don't know the research and the figures well enough. I think it's something that's being discovered every day, but learning outside of the classroom has enormous benefits, and I see it myself working with one little girl that was like proper into health and beauty, telling her, get your wellies on, we're going to go light a fire in the woods. She's like, I am not going to wear Wellingtons.
Worked at Millersville University in Lancaster.
I am not going to. Half an hour later, she was jumping in puddles, and I was like, "Can I run up that hill?" Yeah, knock yourself out. I also go. And
she would always ask,
just seeing that transformation and that child then socialize with children that she wouldn't normally do. Work with an adult, an adult male as well. That makes a difference. A young adult male.
And then they started doing that.
Do these things she wouldn't normally do, and
but there needs to be
as long as you don't tell her friends,
than just for the
it's
sake
just
of
phenomenal.
the company.
You were working with a different kid then.
The only other time I will do surveys,
it's amazing, and I see that every single time that I go and take a session, no matter how successful it is, because of the kind of children I work with, it doesn't always go the way you plan. But I've never not seen it be something. You see like a glimmer in their eye, like this. Oh wow, there's this thing I can go and do and enjoy. It's amazing. Yeah. Right. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the essence of what we do at Sea Sanctuary is it focuses around the idea of blue health, and that's the idea that being out on the sea and being literally surrounded by blue, the color blue, and the benefits for mental health. Also, when we go out on the sea, we're either kayaking or paddleboarding or sailing, and then you're working as a team and working with children that have not had that kind of trust before, and that element of risk. That's another huge thing, to be given an element of controlled risk. So that's blue health, which has been researched quite extensively. And what I advocate as well as the blue health work is the green health. So going into the woods and watching the birds. And all day today, I'm in lovely Cornwall. We're on the coast right now. I'm looking over an incredible bay right now. It's just amazing. The sun's setting, but behind me is some woods. So we've just been watching buzzards and robins and all the different birds and stuff, and you just come away just feeling so refreshed and reoriented. And
I've done that,
and that's what I like
well,
about traveling.
I value
when
the intention
when
of
you're not with when you're on your own and you're just in your head. You've got to get comfortable.
Instead of getting on Yelp and leaving a nasty review, for no reason other than to
because
complain,
you're going to be with yourself for a while, and that is an enormous skill. I can't remember the
like
gentleman
I like
who said it.
I like your intentions with this. I just have some
can't remember who it was now, but
that I think might be valuable to you.
To paraphrase the quote, it's something like
whether or not they do it and take that information, that's up to them. But
in modern times, is the fact
I would
that we
assume
can't
if you're
sit
a good
alone
manager, you
in a room,
take that consideration of someone utilizing your.
We always have to do something, and so many people I know just go home and they'll stick the radio on just so there's a noise, just because I can't be on my own. And
things that cause bad experiences, whether that's through like the organization.
I like being busy. I like doing things, but I have to have time.
What do you notice causes the worst experiences for people?
Mm. Or to reflect and think about it. When you're reading the news or you're reading social media or whatever. I'm not criticizing someone's like leftist or any other political view or whatever they have. You're reading something that's gonna influence you one way or another. But when you sit quietly, and I do this exercise, and I find it so rewarding. I go, right, okay, look for all the bad things right now where I am. Look for everything bad. Oh, there's a bit of rubbish there. Oh God, that person is having a go at his kid, and I'm not too happy with that bloke, or all these things like that. That person's speeding, and then you go, right, now look for all the good things. Oh look, there's a mum and a kid, and oh look at that bird, that's so beautiful. I'm just going to watch that for a bit. And, wow, what a nice place to live. And isn't the air clean? Depending on what you put your focus on, you're going to see, and you can even see it in the same thing. You can look at. I watched a man crossing the road, and he was drinking a beer and having a go at his little girl, and come on, love, keep up, and she was pushing the pram. I thought, oh, that's not very nice. That doesn't look like a nice situation to look at. And then the woman said to the little girl, we're going to grandma's later. Don't worry, you can have an ice cream then, or whatever. And it was like the same situation, but there were two different things to focus on, And you don't see that when you're absorbing someone else's Facebook feed, or you're going, I'm going to read this newspaper, and then you get in a completely different story to what you might actually believe had you decided to have your own thoughts, And people don't think for themselves now. You have to think a lot for yourself if you're your own. Mm. Yeah, and it's you can do it wherever. But I'm in Cornwall, so it's quite difficult to do that because Cornwall's pretty good. I am. He's fab here. Yeah, incredible guy. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made a thing with this kid called a gratitude jar. And I made it with this particular jar because I wanted to always have this nice thought of making this lovely jar with a particularly difficult kid. And so, yeah, our gratitude jar, it sat in our flat, and Kiara and I, the girl that I told you about, that we went traveling, we still lived together. So we survived the weird travel with a man in a van and a ferret. And we've got the gratitude jar. And this is a great story. I did the same thing. So we lift the jar up once a year and read what we were grateful for at different times. And you go, oh my God, you remember when we had those tadpoles? And like, we were really grateful for looking after a load of tadpoles and seeing them grow up, and all the weird things we've been grateful for.
Yeah.
When I opened the lid,
sound
she
like
went,
New Yorkers
is that it?
or anybody in the northeast of the United
So,
States
like,
would really
I
like
was
traveling to the Mediterranean
Oh,
because
well,
they
not
have to be
many
doing
there, is
something.
there?
They have to be doing
There's,
two
like,
things
bit
every
of a
minute.
gratitude jar.
I'm guilty of that, but I think the intellectual
when you're
traveler, the wise
writing
person,
things
the
when
wise
you're
traveler would have the wherewithal,
happy,
hopefully, to
I think
manipulate
is
their experience to
just
make
as
it
important
enjoyable.
as writing them when you're sad.
Yeah.
One of the
But I have
interesting,
you can be. I think you can get carried away if you're not careful. You can get carried away.
One of the things I
being
thought
like,
was
oh, it's all going to work
interesting
out. It's fine. This is
was
fine.
the
This is fine.
aspect
This is
of
all right.
everything
The fire's going to stop. It's going to
that
be all
is
right.
not necessarily the
And sometimes, like,
experience
it's not,
of
and
the
you've got to
trip,
be real. Actually, this
but
situation
paying
isn't
attention to
great, and I'm
detail,
going to
I
change
think
it by
also
doing
means
this. I've
the
learned
journey
that with
before the
lockdown,
journey.
thinking it's fine. My
Your
company's going to be
experience
fine,
in
and actually,
researching
it's
the
really not.
activity,
It's like it's not going
researching the
great,
hotel,
and I'm doing
whatever
things to
experience you want to
sort
go
that
on,
out.
and then actually booking it.
So yeah,
And if you have
right when you're
questions,
positive,
making sure that
but
customer
also,
service is done appropriately and
take
done the
everything
right
from
way
consult, you know,
in
it's
a
life.
timely manner, and then
Life happens, right?
that's your journey before you actually get to the destination. And then even before you get to the hotel, if there are arrangements for like transportation to come get you at the airport or at the train station and bring you to your hotel, all of that really makes a difference. I know I took a trip when I was studying abroad in Germany. I met my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, in Ireland, and we did like an 8-day bus trip with I think it was called Gate 1, and they picked us up at the airport, took us to the hotel, and then that was it. Like, I didn't have to worry about anything, and it was really, really nice. Now, the only thing was that they missed us at the airport, so we had to get a cab. But that was okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Caroline, are you familiar with the company Kentucky? I would assume you are. Yeah, they're out of Australia. I think they were founded in Australia, I believe. I've used them, and we've talked about them a bunch in this podcast. I had an incredible experience with them. I really enjoyed that trip I took with them. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was
I've not really thought about that.
When you download
before,
the app, you're already
nice
paired
angle.
with in a social media style forum with
a
everybody
really nice
you're going
angle.
to be meeting. And so
it allowed me to see who I was going to meet and sort of get discussions rolling. And we were already part of conversations. Anticipation was building. Everybody, someone would comment, I can't wait to meet everybody. And they built up the experience weeks before I even left to go do it. And then when I finally got there and you met the people who you were talking to or who provided information to you, it was incredible. And then you already had the foundation for those relationships existed. And then you were able to build upon it almost immediately upon meeting them in person. It was really cool.
When I came back from traveling, I thought to myself, I could have had as many great experiences in the UK as I had done all over the place. Obviously not the locations and temperature.
Yeah.
I think
but
I remember listening to something.
it's a mindset. It's this idea of what you want to see, the conversations you want to have. Who do you want to hang out with? If I want to go traveling and hit all the best clubbing places in the world, then I can go and do that. Or I can go and go to the custom made nature cutting board for your kitchen. It's getting the custom made entry mat that has your family's name on it. All that kind of stuff. And I think travel is no different. So,
I mean, with the technology,
I think you've got to be mindful.
Software that we have.
That's the mindfulness I got from it was Amazon, actually I can get these experiences
all
and
that
meet
stuff, being able to
interesting things, have excitement
personal information
wherever I am. I can take
some
that
information about
obviously it's going to be more exciting walking around that I can see with a ferret, but
like internet searches,
you can achieve them kind of things when you have that mindset. And when you start looking for things, I found all sorts of different places I want to go now, and I'd love to do the walk across Spain, the Camino. Yeah, I'd love to do that for different reasons. I'd like to go on my own and just have like a clear head and just go and walk the pilgrim's route. And but I also quite like the idea of sailing to the Mediterranean. Now they're two really different things, and one's going to take a lot of teamwork and skill. You'd be surprised. And then the other one, the Camino, is just going to take a lot of time and quiet and walking. But they're going to achieve different things for me as a person. I think you achieve something different in your travels depending on why, where, how you're traveling. Mm.
Something that you sparked, Elliot, with what you said about the personalization of your electronics is how valuable personal data is going to be, like the new commodity. It's going to
is.
Oil is going to be number 2 now, and personal data is sort of what's going to drive global economy in a way, right? If you can manipulate experiences almost instantly to people's personal data, and everybody has their own extremely personalized experience with whatever it is, and
you kind of already see it, not necessarily through material things and things when you reach a destination, because not necessarily a lot of companies are able to provide that data. But when you're doing internet searches and you're looking at things, it's within hours that you see that pop up on your Instagram feed, ads on your Instagram feed, or ads on your Facebook feed, or ads on a website that you just visited. And you're like, how do they know all this? And it's because you are giving them access to it when you sign up, when you sign all those agreements.
Right. All right, Caroline. Well, are you ready for
and you got to like
round?
practice them.
The rapid fire question.
When lockdown started in the UK, it was quite strict
That's
over
fine.
here.
There
And we're
are
in a
actually
lockdown
new
at the moment.
rules to this rapid fire question round, but we're going to go through them.
really
There's
got
12
into
questions,
wildlife
and then
watching.
after we're done those
I
questions,
live
we're going to give you
right
the
on the
opportunity to
river.
share your social
We
media
live on a
pages,
sailing
and
boat.
everywhere
And,
anybody can follow you on your
we
journey,
were feeding the
whether
birds
through your
and like
travels
getting
or
excited to see
your
different
business
birds coming
endeavors.
down. And
So,
wow, have you seen
Elliot, do
this
you want
bird
to get
came over
started
today?
with the
And
rapid fire round?
I
counting
do.
how many we've seen and
Caroline,
watching the
what is the
wildlife
first
and
word that
looking at
comes to
the
your
fish
mind
and
when you
stuff.
hear the word travel?
When I started doing that, the more I started to
Nice.
notice,
What
whoa, there's
home comfort
so
do you miss
much
the
here that I
most
didn't
while
know. And
traveling?
while I was looking, I'd not seen in the UK yet a kingfisher. We have beautiful
Oh,
kingfishers in the UK.
Does
Bright blue,
Montenegro have
just
good pizza?
incredible. They're like a flash of blue. And I saw it, and I thought that couldn't have been a kingfisher.
yeah.
Not here. There's
We'll
too many
follow
people
up
and
on that
boats
question.
around and things like that. And sure enough,
If you
now
could swim in any liquid, what
I'd
would
say
it
every
be?
day that I go and spend about 10, 20 minutes looking out at the water, I'll see the
Oh,
kingfishers.
That's a good.
Oh, that would be so
They've
good.
always been there.
That's a good one.
And I'd never seen them. But when I decided I'm going to start looking for
That would be so good for the
nature,
skin.
it was there.
Who would
And
win
it
in a
was there the
fight?
whole
An
time. And
accountant or a banker?
yeah, that treasure was just waiting to be found, and it just took me deciding I'm going to go and
Well,
find it. I'm
we
going
have
to
to
go
keep
look
track.
for it,
We'll have to go back
and
through
there it was. And that's
where
why
the
I think
tally
you
is.
can have
Yeah, and then we'll have to find a banker and
similar
Colin Williams to fight to settle it
experiences.
once and for all.
If you want to go and travel to go and meet people and experience amazing things, I don't think you need to go to like
Would you rather
Asia
drink wine or coffee for the rest of your life?
necessarily. I think you can go to
Say hello in your favorite
if you
language.
go with that right head to say, yeah. Obviously, if you go to Asia, you're going to meet a lot
How do you say it?
more
Yes,
diverse people than next door neighbor.
I've never heard that.
But
I don't know Greek very well.
you don't have to go wild and spend lots of money and go somewhere you can't speak the language. You can just go for a weekend somewhere, and that might just be that little thing enough to go. Actually, I quite like city breaks, or I quite like going on treks or whatever. I don't think this idea of traveling with lots and lots of money. I had a friend who traveled in Spain for a month on 60 euros. And her stories are amazing, incredible. And I probably spent like hundreds. Well, I spent thousands of pounds on fuel just driving to Spain. And she's had this amazing experience, equally, I'd say much better than my experience of Spain on 60 euros per month. That's incredible. Yeah. I wish I'd stayed in places longer. I wish I'd stayed in Sweden longer. I wish I'd stayed in Berlin longer. That's my only regret about when I traveled with the ferret.
Really so
the time that I spend in places.
Lived and traveled around the same time as T.E. Lawrence, which got the name Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah. Okay.
What is one item remaining on your bucket list?
Yeah, I don't think it's not, is it? And what a well-rounded individual you become when you travel, and you have to think for yourself, and you have to fend for you, and things go wrong, and things, I think it's a real skill to be able to travel and travel well. I think it's a skill, It's a skill.
Morocco calls to me too in like this romantic sort of way. There's something about it, experiencing the city of Casablanca and the mountain ranges and everything. Yeah, I want
to. And did your mum pay for you to fly back? Oh, she did. Oh, okay.
An actress to play
we'll call you.
Who would you choose? All right.
Either one would be incredible, right? Yeah. If you were stuck in one city for the rest of your life, which city would you choose?
Yeah, they like that. a lot of people are like that. Yeah. Yeah, and it's
if you own
I stick by that. I don't regret. I've had people say to me, "God, I bet you wish you hadn't spent all that money and going on holiday with your ferret. I bet you wish you bought a house or something." And it's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it can't. And that's where I am now. I bought the sailboat, and the idea was to sail to the Med.
For a yacht, you can also just live on
so yeah, sailing can be expensive, but sail fuel is free. Right. So as long as we've got good wind, we'll be all right. This area of the UK is full of hardy sailing people, and lots of people have gone overseas from here. So that was the plan. And I'm 26, and I see my mates like getting married and having kids and having dogs and moaning about, I don't know, bonuses at work and blah blah blah. And I just feel like I'm still not ready for that. I don't. It's a great thing, and one day I will be responsible. But at the moment, I feel like I think it's Alan Watts who speaks about the only true responsibility you have is to be the person and do the things that you must go and do. You feel you have to go and do, because if you don't do that, you're not fulfilling that urge inside of you to go and become that person or that thing.
I think that same way. So, and you could tie that into a lot of different things, whether it's planning financially, whether it's exercising. A lot of times people get discouraged because they put in the work that day and they don't see the
sailing boat, and I'm going to go and do some sailing.
Results
I'm
that
not
night.
Sit there in a house wishing I had a sailboat.
If you look at it as putting in the work today, what you do today,
I'd rather sit in my sailboat wishing I had a house.
And 10-year older version of you will benefit greatly from the work you put in today.
Yeah,
I think it'll make more sense. I mean, and it's easier, at least for me.
I could have kids with my friends, but I feel like my responsibility to my children
in the work
to
for
show
whatever it is, and
this was a calling, and it's something that's
in that moment
had an impact on children.
It's
delayed from the traveling and from the stuff I did with the ferret. That's inspiring children now and helping people and helping parents and teachers. And I feel like if I had kids and I was just boring and didn't follow that thing that I had to do, I want my kids to look at me one day and be like, wow, he did these things and then he had us. But he went and did him first before he was told to go and do things. I'm happy doing that. Oh God. Okay. All right, let's do this. I'm ready.
Right? Yeah. Caroline, thank you for coming on the show. Before we go, though, share everything. Share your social media, your website. Let's hear it all. Where can people follow you?
Well, you got to have a day to pack a bag and, say goodbye to your mates, one last beer. Bath. Milk. Ugh. No, I changed my mind. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sick with milk. Yeah. Oh God, that's horrific. The crowd cheering. Yeah. Oh, coffee for sure. Ciao. Thoreau. Yeah, Walden Pond, Thoreau. Yeah. Great. What have I got on there at the moment? I've had to write a new one recently. I did most of mine. Yeah. One on my bucket list. Oh God, you've really put me on the spot.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. The conversation was
wonderful. I think it would be to
really excited to follow along with your
finish a pilot's license
series.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I never got to finish it. Oh, that is the vanity of vanities, that, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Tom Hanks. Younger Tom Hanks. Younger, like big Tom Hanks. Perfect. Yeah. I like this one. I think I'd go Berlin. I did, yeah. With Bandit, of course. I camped. It was bank holiday, and I camped next to the Berlin Wall, next to the kissing politicians. Yeah, I was sick. She's called Lady Jane. Yeah, because yachts are given names when they're made, and it's unlucky to change their name. So we'll have to ask the previous owner of that.
Downloaded the book. I'm looking for those books. Yeah. But before the show, and I grabbed it on Audible, so I'm going to listen to it. Have you listened to it yet?
Wow, that's great. Read the book that I wrote last year. Yeah. Which I wrote for myself 10 years ago. That's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like the old school, except for I just migrated to a Kindle, so it does feel like a book.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Adventures with Charles Hammerton. You can find me on Instagram under the same name. My book, which for your American and European listeners is called 4 Hour Adventures, is on Amazon. And any South American listeners can buy it through Skull Editoria, which is a publishing house in Brazil.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we had a wonderful time speaking with you and learning about your experiences.
It's some nonsense. Brilliant.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of our guests have found travel to be a way to cope with internal and external struggles. And I really identified with Charlie on that. And I wish I could have traveled after my mom passed away, and I just haven't been able to.
Yeah. Not only our guests, but when you think about it, how many books like Into the Wild and the one with Reese Witherspoon where she walked the Pacific Crest Trail. I don't remember the name of that, but there's something about sort of throwing yourself into a new environment and forcing yourself to think critically and, I don't know, take a step back. You have to use your brain more. I don't know, and use your awareness, your situational awareness, and maybe find yourself. I don't know. I probably just completely butchered that, but in my own head, it makes sense.
I think I understand what you're saying, because when you're in the routine of life and something traumatic happens, you're still going through the motions of your routine, and you're not really actually addressing what you feel. And travel helps you do that because you're with yourself and you're experiencing new things, but your emotions are ever present, especially if you travel solo.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, man. Yes. Well, we hope you enjoyed this conversation today. If you are a fan of the show and want to help support us, you can do it with no money at all by just liking, engaging, subscribing. That goes a really long way.
Sharing.
Sharing it on social media. And then you could also just donate as little as $1 a month to contribute to the production, to the time we spend doing this, which ends up being like 24 hours for every single episode. So 24 hours per episode. So anything that you think we deserve based on your fandom, we'd be happy to accept and incredibly appreciative of. So if you could even consider that, we thank you in advance. That's it for today. So enjoy the rest of your week and tune in next week.